Any question, Ashley? Okay, so we did not get a copy of the last meeting minutes. As you all know, the last time when we lost Dr. Nagatu, we went through a rough patch. So since we don't have a quorum, we will continue to work to try to find those previous minutes and share it with you all when we can. Instead of breaking out into sections, we can't even appoint anybody. Is there anybody on the YouTube feed?
Not you.
No chair. I'm able to do appointments via email. If anyone wants to be,
No, they have to be present,
they have to be present,
and we have to have a quorum.
and we have to have quorum.
How many do we need for quorum?
Well, there's only 16 members for it.
So I think we need to, I guess just talk about our next steps. So what we're working on this year is really trying to highlight the needs of the children of incarcerated parents and their caregivers. One of the things that I want us to try to focus on right now are any policies that you or your organization may be working on that we can uplift to submit in our report to, in this report to give to the Senate. So I do know, for one, with DBI, we're working on lowering the prison phone fees, which is technically through Commissioner Devontae Lewis and a host of other organizations. But one of the things the young ladies of DBI wanted to focus on was creating a resolution that would allow incarcerated parents to attend graduations virtually. That's really, really important for them. And the child sensitivity law. There are tons of children that are being arrested in New Orleans. I'm sorry, the caregivers are being arrested in New Orleans in front of those children. And those children just have to wake up and go to school the next day. We want to be able to implement some type of plan that enforces the schools to identify zip codes where people were killed the night before and identify those children ahead of time. We do know that there was a mental health bill that passed last year, which basically I think states that the mental health is just as important as physical education, so they have to implement a mental health class, just like there's a PE class. And I think that was pushed by Victor Jones. So what I want to work to enforce is that we work to implement that bill in our report. Does anybody else have any other bills that they'd like to add to it?
I do, I would like to add more from the Department of Children and Family Services. I'm sorry, Ashley Size, everyone, the Assistant Secretary, but I would like to get a more comprehensive list for you. Is there some work we're doing as far as child support enforcement is concerned and having those minimum payments once they're released to be like $0. And so that's something we're trying to get past, but it's also some work we're doing in workforce development and trying to get jobs for the those who are re-entering.
I do think that there is a bill.
Yes.
That was probably, I think it was passed maybe in 2020.
Yes.
That
It was
talks about-
$100 minimum once they're released, but
So you wanna get it zero.
the feds they're saying we're out of compliance basically by having $100 minimum. And so we need to bring it to zero.
Okay,
If the case,
Okay.
need be.
So do you have an organization that you want to work with to work to get that bill pushed, or?
Well, we do have, I forgot the senator name, but that has authored the bill. It's gonna pass because, it's compliance as far as federal is concerned, but I know we're working with some judges on it as well. And so I can link you with our Deputy Assistant Secretary, William Tilley, who's over child support enforcement.
And just let us know what
To
the
see,
act is.
Yeah.
And we'll put it in the report.
So, I thought I heard you mention something when it comes down to like if, a parent is like arrested in front of the child.
The child sensitivity.
Right, so will that also go reference to the actual school board system as well, where they put something in
And
place?
so we need to, so this committee, which I think Amaya is working with to get people to reappoint someone for the school board representation. So I think
Right.
we had Dr. Kelly
Dr.
Peterson.
Peterson, yeah.
She's no longer with us. So Amaya, we want to try to push the school board to reappoint someone. Well, everybody needs to reappoint someone, but definitely the school board, because we do have a lot of bills that we need their input and their support on. Because that is one of them. It's just as well as the mental health bill. Pushing that bill would means that they would have to create a mental health class, just like they have a PE class.
Mhm.
We do have the Senator Bowie that's
Oh,
gonna author that,
That's something, yeah.
bill, and it's gonna be based on fact, like actual income. It's not just you owe this minimum. And so that's kind of how they're going. But,
Okay,
Yeah,
so
Senator Boyd from Buzz, he's my senator.
yeah, great.
do you know the number of the bill?
I can find it.
Ivy, does vote have any bills that you want to add to the report?
Not at this moment, but we are looking into the phones,
Yeah,
lowering those costs and raising concerns around that.
I know Ronald had a mental health bill that he was working on, but I cannot remember what was.
There isn't a bill number just yet.
Okay.
Ms. Johnson,
Uh-huh.
the stuff you're talking about now, the bills you're talking about now, are these things that you're pushing for legislation this coming session or wait?
Yeah, that's right. Okay. And when is the deadline
For,
for the report to be submitted?
Soon.
Soon.
Yeah, we've been talking about it. This is the time now to
wrap
find
it up.
someone to carry the bills and to submit them. I'll pull up the actual date, but I want to say it's coming towards the end of this month.
Oh, wow.
Term,
In February?
Yeah.
like beginning of March.
so-
Yeah,
oh,
the
end of
session starts
March.
in April.
Okay.
I'll find the deadline for you.
So Amaya, when you get the deadline, can you, hold that to it? And I think we'll just need a standard letter for submitting the report.
okay.
So real quick, just before, just to be clear, what you're asking for is just bills or any policies that we're implementing?
So what we want to do is work to ensure that we support bills that's gonna actually help families that are impacted by incarceration. And we want to put those bills in the report so that all of the children and families who we serve will receive the help that we're working to achieve.
That DCFS bill, about the minimum child support payments, is it gonna include any kind of provision for increased alternative services from DCFS for those children that will be missing on that support? Because of course, we don't want the parents to be responsible for that upon release, because they're not able to, right? But then the children are suffering because they're missing out on resources.
Right, that would make sense, right? So I need to really get clear on what's the impact and what are we doing to mitigate that, right? As far as support for the child, because they still will need that support.
So I think that's where we would step in with resources, right? So like Daughters Beyond Incarceration, we work to support girls. We definitely need to highlight organizations that work to support boys. But that's where organizations like, but that within every community in the cities would work to support. And I think that's what we need to do as well, is to highlight communities that are serving children who are impacted by incarceration and their families. So if we all can come back with maybe 3 new organizations in our communities that's also working to support children of incarcerated parents. I mean, we kind of got it figured out in New Orleans, but like outside of New Orleans, I don't have any. And if there isn't none, then maybe we do what we can to work to support the organizations expand. And then I think you mentioned, having
For employment,
employment.
reentry services to kind of get those who are reentering back into the community a good pathway, career pathway to get those training opportunities to find employment. And so we have our workforce development section within DCFS on the family support side that help to do those employment and training and have those providers. We can refer to those providers to help those who are reentering for employment and training services.
I mean, both works. First 72 doesn't a vote
Excuse me?
provide services with employment. Is it first 72 or is it both?
Oh,
Well, both, because now, now we have our women transitional house. So we are getting
Congratulations. I
women,
didn't know that.
yeah.
Congratulations.
I told it.
So we're working with getting, they are employed now, so we're building those resources, trying to get them connected with employment.
Okay, so that's on our to-do list. In addition to getting community organizations that services children and families impacted by incarceration, we need to get organizations that work to support them, to help them re-enter back into society, and we can uplift those organizations and our resources as well. So when any member of our committee needs to be able to identify those organizations that we have here in the resources. Can we give ourselves a week to email me with those organizations?
So by next Wednesday?
Yeah. So that's 3 organizations that services children and families impacted by incarceration. And let's do at least 3 orgs that works to support with reentry.
And if I can, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, if I could just share, so be reminded that this is a fiscal legislative session, which means that legislators can only carry a maximum of 5 non-fiscal bills.
Yep.
So March 30th is the 10th calendar day before the session starts. So I can tell you that right now is important because a lot of them are already committing to the 5 bills they're gonna carry outside of the fiscal. That's why I said there's a little bit of now, because they only can bring 5.
Wednesday, we probably need to have it by Friday.
Well, no, next week is good. but
Okay.
Hey, TK, yeah, so just making sure that there is some movement if you intend to bring legislation.
Okay.
Members have already begun to pre-file bills.
That is
Yeah.
correct.
And some of them have already filed more than one non-fiscal bill. So if you have a policy or legislative instrument idea in mind, you need to find an author to commit by today.
And so what do you suggest with the reports? Because the bill that we're working on with vote for the lowering the phone fees, that's gonna go through Commissioner Lewis and the public
Okay.
health.
So
The
did-
resolution, I think, is the only other thing, but that's,
So if Commissioner Lewis and the PSC plans to run that bill, then he needs to find an author to carry that bill. Because I mean, they're pre-filing bills already. They started filing bills last week. And I've noticed where some of the members have already filed 2 or 3 non-fiscal bills. So with the pre-filing deadline of March 31st, I mean, that's 6 weeks from now. So for any policy recommendations, if you're interested in running the bill for this session, then you need to find authors to commit to filing those bills.
correct. So he's gonna do, he's gonna present directives on February 16th. So if everyone or anybody is free to come up here and join us on February 16th, Kevin and I will be here with some Dawn of Beyond Incarceration T-shirts to kind of help pack the house and support, the show support for that bill. And I'll send that in an email as well. February 16th, I think maybe after lunch, because I know directors can be all day. But that's definitely when we're gonna be back up here to show support for lowering the phone fee. We need as many people as possible, so if you're gonna come with a host of people, you can send me an email with the number of people you're gonna bring and what size t-shirt y'all wear, and we'll meet y'all at the Capitol.
I'll be here, Dominique, with some support.
Thank you, Ivy. You gonna wear a boat shirt or you be actually? Other business, April 20th, at about 10 a.m., we are gonna bring 100 students to the state capitol to tour the Capitol and to have a press conference out front. I would love for you guys to come. You definitely can send me an email and we'll work out, transportation and everything else for you guys. And if you all have volunteers, you have children in the community that you want to come, we are working with Dr. Ashanta Wyatt to draft letters to the schools so that they can identify what the children will learn so that they'll get credit for school. And it's gonna be food, we're gonna have other organizations, other schools there as well. Does anyone else have any other topics to discuss?
I only have one question. Other than Ms. Kelly Peterson, is there anyone else that has not been removed from your members list?
Yes, so Rabrisha Anderson. So she was also vice chair and she was also commission. So I think DBI is gonna have to find someone else to commission, and we're gonna have to make recommendations for a vice chair. I think,
Okay, so Ms. Rabrisha sent me a email and asked if she could still be on.
oh, she's still gonna be on it?
Yeah,
Okay,
she just went back
She
and
just
like
went back.
last year.
okay, so I'm not 100% sure about anybody else. Leslie Chambers.
So Ms. Terrell Kent took her.
Okay, and I can't think of everybody else off the top of my head.
I know it's Kelly from, because she's no longer with
With the school board.
the board.
So
Yeah,
I
she's
knew-
with well, that's not the board, it's the Department of Education.
I know it was Kelly, I know it was Leslie Chambers. Anybody else off the top of my head?
You didn't see the members list?
The head of, OJJ,
Bill Summers.
Summers.
Bill Summers, yep. So wait, he's not with them anymore?
Curtis Nelson.
It's,
The head of OJJ is now Attorney Curtis Nelson.
yes.
Okay, so yeah, they definitely need to be reappointed. I think that's all the email information. Amaya, I think you may just need to send emails to the state heads
Mhm.
just to confirm it. And then the Department of Public Safety and Corrections, that spot was vacant, so we'll definitely need to fill that.
Thank you.
Do we have any other discussions with people? And so again, I encourage you guys to reach out to people who you feel would be helpful with this committee. I really want to work to see this committee thrive and get back up again. I feel like it is needed and we can do good work in the community. I just want us to reach out and expand as far as wide as we can. If there are no other topics, we will move to adjourn the meeting. All right.
Thank you all for coming and being so productive.
I feel like every meeting we've had, we've been productive. It just can't get people to stay and come. And then I've been.
I didn't even know it was in Baton Rouge.
Oh, we cut.
Yeah, we're done. We're done. Yeah.
I'll make sure we cut. Cut the last.
I didn't know.
I don't think
ever
we
got
got
so
it.
like, all the girls did.
It was on, because they was texting me, I was like, oh, people watching?
Oh,
So they were people watching?
Yes, it was streaming on YouTube.
Yeah.
So why was the guy, why did he leave?
It was on. That's the
Oh, it
one
was just
that we-
depending on this. Oh,
I was like.
Let me see.
Hello, you were here for the meeting? We just adjourned.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay, if I can meet with you real quick, like,
No.